Lieutenant Commander Daniel Wright stared at the sensor display on the bridge of the UES Nighthawk. The blue dot that had caught his attention pulsed steadily at the edge of the screen. He had been patrolling this sector of the Kuiper Belt for 3 months, and this was the first time he had seen anything unusual. "Susan, are you seeing this?" he asked, turning to his navigation officer. Susan Harper nodded, her fingers already moving across her control panel. "Yes, sir. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It's not human, and it's not like any alien tech we've encountered before." The bridge crew fell silent. Humanity had met 4 other spacefaring races in the past decades, but none of them had ventured this far into Earth's solar system without announcing themselves first. "How far?" Daniel asked. "About 6 hours at standard drive, sir. It's holding position near one of the larger ice bodies." Daniel drummed his fingers on his armrest. Protocol said he should report this to Command and wait for orders. But Command was 12 hours away by quantum communication, and the signature might vanish by then. "Plot a course," he said, "but keep us at yellow alert. Amy, I want those engines ready for a quick exit if we need one." Amy Martinez looked up from her engineering station and gave a quick nod. "Already on it, sir. I've got extra power routed to the shields too, just in case." The Nighthawk changed course smoothly. Daniel used the time to study the sensor readings more carefully. The energy output was low but steady, like a sleeping giant taking shallow breaths. As they got closer, more details emerged. The object was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Nighthawk. "Sir," Susan called out, "I'm getting visual range now." Putting it on the main screen. The image that appeared made everyone on the bridge gasp. Against the black of space floated a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. Its hull was dark gray and smooth, with elegant lines that spoke of advanced engineering. It looked both ancient and impossibly advanced at the same time. "No signs of damage," Amy reported, her voice filled with awe. "The hull is intact. By all readings, it's just waiting." Daniel leaned forward in his chair. "Any signs of life?" "No biological signatures, sir," Peter Collins answered from the tactical station. "But there's something odd about the internal scans. It's like the ship is blocking them somehow." "Sir," Susan interrupted, "I'm detecting a large open area that might be a hangar bay. We could dock there." Daniel considered his options. The right thing to do was to wait for Command. But everything he had learned in his 15 years of service told him this discovery was too important to risk losing. "Prep a boarding team," he ordered. "Amy, you're with me. Laura, I want you there too. If this ship is as old as it looks, we'll need your archaeological expertise." Laura Bennett, who had been quietly observing from her science station, smiled. This was exactly the kind of discovery she had hoped to make when she joined the Defense Force. "Full environment suits," Daniel continued. "I don't care if the scans say the air is breathable. We do this by the book." As the team prepared for boarding, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to discover something that would change everything. The ship hung in space like a sleeping giant from Earth's ancient myths, waiting to be awakened, and they were about to step inside. The Nighthawk's docking procedure was textbook perfect, but as they approached the massive vessel, Daniel noticed something strange. The ship's hull seemed to shimmer slightly, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. He made a mental note to have Amy check their sensors. But deep down, he knew this wasn't a sensor malfunction. This ship was special, and they were about to find out why. The boarding team stepped through the airlock into the mysterious ship. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing smooth corridors that seemed to absorb the light. Daniel led the way, with Amy Martinez and Laura Bennett close behind. 2 security officers, John Carter and Maria Rodriguez, brought up the rear. "The air readings are stable," Amy said, checking her suit's sensors. "Temperature is 17 degrees Celsius. This ship has working life support." Laura ran her hand along one of the walls. These markings aren't like anything I've seen before. They look almost like flowing water frozen in time. The team moved deeper into the ship. Their footsteps echoed oddly, as if the ship was listening to them. The corridors were wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side, with high ceilings that disappeared into shadows above. "This has to be a bridge or control center," Daniel said as they entered a large circular room. The space was filled with what looked like control stations, but there were no obvious buttons or screens. Everything was smooth and curved, like the inside of a seashell. Amy walked to one of the stations and waved her scanner over it. "There's power running through all of this, but I can't figure out how to." She stopped mid-sentence as her hand brushed against the surface. The entire room came alive with soft blue light. Patterns of light raced along the walls like circuits, and a gentle hum filled the air. "Nobody move," Daniel ordered. But it was too late. A sphere of light appeared in the center of the room. It pulsed once, twice, and then took shape into what looked like a human figure made of blue light. "First contact protocols established," the figure said in perfect English. "I am Guardian, the artificial intelligence of this vessel. You are the first beings to board this ship in 50,000 years." The team stood frozen. Laura was the first to find her voice. "You speak our language." "I have been monitoring your communications since you entered the solar system," Guardian replied. "Language acquisition is a basic function." Daniel stepped forward. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Daniel Wright of the United Earth Defense Force. Why are you here?" The hologram's light dimmed slightly. "This vessel was placed here as a safeguard by the precursors. We waited for a species advanced enough to find us, yet primitive enough to still be underestimated." "Underestimated by whom?" John asked from his position near the door. "By the swarm." Guardian's form flickered. "They destroyed my creators, the precursors, in a war that spanned 1,000 years. The precursors knew they would lose, so they created vessels like this one and hid them across the galaxy. They were waiting for a species that could continue the fight." Amy's scanner beeped. "Commander, the ship's systems are powering up. Whatever was dormant is waking up." Guardian nodded. "The ship has detected your neural patterns. They are surprisingly similar to those of the precursors. This is not a coincidence. They chose your species long ago." "Chose us for what?" Maria asked. "To inherit their legacy, to fight the war they could not win." Guardian's form expanded, filling the room with a star map. "The swarm is not dead. They are sleeping, scattered across space. And now that you have found us, they will begin to wake." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "How long do we have?" "Not long," Guardian replied. "But this ship, the one you would call Phantom, will help you prepare. It was designed to be operated by human minds. You are its new crew." The star map zoomed in on a nearby system, where a red dot pulsed ominously. "The first stirrings have already begun. You must learn to use this ship quickly, Commander Wright. The future of your species depends on it." The team looked at each other through their helmet visors. They had come looking for a mystery and found a war. The sleeping giant had awakened, but it had brought humanity's greatest challenge with it. Daniel sat in what Guardian called the neural interface chair. It looked more like a bed made of flowing metal than any chair he had seen before. The rest of the team watched from their positions around the bridge. "The process is not painful," Guardian explained, its blue form hovering nearby. "But it will feel strange at first. Your mind will need time to adjust to the ship's systems." Amy checked her readings again. "The chair is adapting to his body temperature. It's like it's alive." "In a way, it is," Guardian said. "The precursors believed that true control could only come from a direct connection between mind and machine." Daniel took a deep breath. "Let's do this." The chair shifted beneath him, and tendrils of light wrapped around his body. He felt a slight tingling sensation at the base of his skull. Then the world exploded into light and information. He could feel the ship. Every system, every power conduit, every corner of its vast interior. The sensation was overwhelming at first, like trying to listen to 1,000 conversations at once. But slowly his mind began to sort through the flood of data. "Remarkable," Guardian said. "Your neural patterns are adapting faster than expected. Try to focus on the main engines." Daniel thought about the engines, and suddenly he could feel them humming. With just a thought, he increased their power. The ship responded instantly. "The commander's vitals are stable," Amy reported. "Brain activity is elevated but within safe ranges." Laura watched in amazement as more systems came online. The ship's responding to him like they're one being. "That is the intention," Guardian explained. "The Phantom is not just a vessel to be operated. It is an extension of its captain's will." Daniel opened his eyes but kept his connection to the ship. "It's incredible. I can feel everything. The weapons, the shields, even the artificial gravity generators." "Try something simple first," Guardian suggested. "Raise the lights in this room." Daniel thought about brightness, and the room's illumination increased smoothly. Then he tried something more complex. A holographic display appeared above them, showing the space around the ship in perfect detail. "He's accessing the advanced sensor systems," Amy said excitedly. "The resolution is amazing." John stepped closer to examine the display. "Look at the detail. We can see things our own sensors missed completely." Maria pointed to a cluster of asteroids. "Can you zoom in on that area?" Daniel concentrated, and the view shifted. The asteroids appeared so close and clear that they could see the individual craters on their surfaces. "Now for something more challenging," Guardian said. "The ship's cloaking system is complex. It requires precise control." Daniel reached out with his mind, finding the cloaking controls. They were unlike anything he had imagined. The system didn't just bend light. It shifted the ship partially out of normal space. The bridge crew gasped as the walls around them became transparent, then seemed to fade away completely. Through their own sensors, the Nighthawk's crew reported that the Phantom had vanished. "Perfect execution," Guardian said. "You are learning faster than any simulation predicted." Daniel deactivated the cloak, bringing the ship back into view. He was tired but exhilarated. "How many more systems do I need to learn?" "Many," Guardian replied. "But we have little time. The swarm will not wait for us to be ready. Each hour brings them closer to awakening." Laura checked her datapad. At least 3 other crew members will need to bond with the ship's secondary systems. The precursors designed it to work best with a connected crew. "Then we better get started," Daniel said. "Amy, you're next. We need an engineer who can feel the engines. Susan and Peter will need to connect too. Weapons and navigation are too important to handle without direct interface." The ship hummed around them, its systems ready and waiting. They had a lot to learn, and the clock was ticking. Somewhere out in the darkness of space, an ancient enemy was stirring. They needed to be ready when it woke up. Guardian's hologram flickered as it displayed a new star map in the center of the bridge. Red warning signals pulsed at various points across the display. The crew of the Phantom watched with growing concern. "These are the locations where we have detected swarm activity," Guardian explained. "They are awakening faster than expected." Amy touched one of the red dots, her neural interface allowing her to pull up detailed sensor data. "The energy readings are off the charts. What exactly are we dealing with?" "The swarm is not a single entity," Guardian said. "They are a collective of artificial beings that consume everything in their path to grow stronger. They break down matter and energy to create more of themselves." Daniel studied the closest signal through his connection to the ship's sensors. "How long until they reach populated systems?" "At their current rate of awakening, we have approximately 2 weeks before they reach the Beta Centauri colony." The news hit everyone hard. Beta Centauri was humanity's largest off-world settlement, home to over 50,000 people. Susan, now fully connected to the navigation systems, brought up a simulation of the swarm's projected movement. "Even at our best speed, we can only warn them 3 days before the swarm arrives." "Then we better make those 3 days count." Peter said from his tactical station. Through his neural link, he was already running combat simulations using the Phantom's weapons. Laura had spent the last several hours studying the precursor data archives. According to these records, the swarm adapts to any weapon used against them. Each encounter makes them stronger. That is correct, Guardian confirmed. It is why the precursors designed this ship with multiple weapon systems and the ability to modify them quickly. The swarm cannot adapt if the attack keeps changing. Daniel stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. We need to warn Earth Command, but we can't leave Beta Centauri defenseless. Amy, how are the engines performing? Better than anything we've ever built, she replied. The Phantom's drive system uses principles we haven't even discovered yet. We can reach Beta Centauri in 5 days if we push it. Make it happen, Daniel ordered. Peter, I want those weapon systems mastered by the time we arrive. Susan, plot the fastest course that keeps us hidden from long-range sensors. We can't risk the swarm detecting us too early. The crew moved with purpose, each connected to their stations through the neural interfaces. The ship responded to their thoughts instantly, systems working in perfect harmony. There is something else you should know, Guardian said, its voice more serious than usual. The swarm's awakening is not random. They are responding to the Phantom's activation. You mean we caused this? Maria asked from her security station. In a way, Guardian replied. The precursors knew that finding this ship would trigger the swarm's awakening. It was part of their plan. They believed that facing the enemy at a time of our choosing was better than being caught unprepared. Daniel felt the weight of command growing heavier. Then we better make their plan work. Laura, keep studying those archives. I want to know everything about our enemy. John, start working on evacuation plans for the colony. If we can't stop the swarm, we need to save as many people as we can. The Phantom's engines hummed louder as Amy increased their power. The massive ship slipped through space like a ghost, its advanced cloaking system hiding them from view. They had 5 days to prepare for humanity's first battle against the swarm. The outcome would determine the fate of not just Beta Centauri, but all of human civilization. The Phantom dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the Beta Centauri system. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, they could see the colony's orbital stations and the steady flow of transport ships moving between them. Status report, Daniel called out, his mind connected to the ship's main systems. 3 Earth Defense Force ships are in orbit, Susan reported through her neural link. They've started the evacuation, but only 20% of the colonists have left so far. Peter's tactical display showed multiple red dots approaching the system. Swarm vessels detected. They're moving faster than we predicted. We have less than 6 hours before they arrive. Daniel felt the ship's weapons powering up through his connection. The Phantom systems were ready for battle, but they had never been tested against a real enemy. Amy, how are the power systems holding? All green, she replied from engineering. The precursor technology is performing perfectly. We have more energy available than all 3 Defense Force ships combined. Guardian's hologram appeared in the center of the bridge. The swarm will detect us soon. You must be prepared for their attack pattern. They will attempt to surround and overwhelm us. Through the neural interface, Daniel accessed the combat simulations they have been running. Peter, remember what we practiced. We hit them with different weapon types each time. Don't let them adapt. Understood, sir. Phase cannons charged and ready. Quantum torpedoes loaded. Energy matrix disruptors standing by. Laura spoke up from her science station. The precursor records show the swarm usually attacks in waves. They sacrifice their first wave to learn about their enemy's capabilities. The bridge crew watched as the red dots on their sensor display got closer. The 3 Earth Defense Force ships moved into protective positions around the colony. This is Commander Wright to all Defense Force ships, Daniel broadcast. Fall back to the colony. We'll engage the swarm first. When you see an opening, focus your fire where we create weaknesses in their formation. The first wave of swarm ships entered visual range. They were ugly things, like twisted metal insects the size of small asteroids. Their hulls seemed to shift and change as they moved. "They're scanning us," Amy reported. "Our cloaking system is confusing them. They can't get a clear reading of our capabilities." Daniel took a deep breath. "All hands, battle stations. Peter, target the lid ship. Let's show them what this vessel can do." The Phantom's weapons came alive. A beam of pure energy lanced out, cutting through the lead swarm ship like it was made of paper. The enemy vessel exploded into fragments, but the pieces started moving on their own, trying to reform. "Phase cannons," Peter called out. The second wave of energy turned the fragments to dust, but the other swarm ships were learning. They changed course, their hulls morphing into new configurations. The second wave accelerated toward them. "Multiple weapons signatures detected," Susan warned. "They're adapting already." "Switch to quantum torpedoes," Daniel ordered. "Target their propulsion systems. Susan, plot us a course through their formation. We need to keep moving." The Phantom moved like a dancer through space, its advanced engines responding instantly to Susan's commands. More swarm ships appeared from faster-than-light travel, joining the attack. "Colony evacuation continuing," Maria reported from her station. "Defense Force ships are providing cover for the transports." Guardian's hologram flickered. "Remember, Commander, the swarm learns from every encounter. You must not fall into a pattern." The battle for Beta Centauri had begun. Humanity's first real test against the swarm would determine if they were worthy of the Precursor's legacy. The Phantom's crew fought with everything they had, knowing that failure meant the death of everyone in the colony. The battle had been raging for 3 hours. The space around Beta Centauri was filled with weapons fire and the broken remains of swarm ships. The Phantom moved through the chaos like a ghost, appearing and disappearing as it struck at the enemy. 60% of the colonists have been evacuated," Maria reported. Her voice was tired but determined. "The Defense Force ships are keeping the escape route clear." Daniel felt every hit against the Phantom's shields through his neural link. The ship's advanced systems were holding, but the swarm was getting better at predicting their movements. "They're changing again," Peter warned. The tactical display showed the swarm ships merging together into larger forms. "These energy readings are off the scale." Through the bridge viewport, they watched as 3 swarm ships combined into a massive creature of living metal. Its surface rippled with weapon ports, each one adapted to counter the Phantom's attacks. "Guardian, we need options," Daniel called out. "They're learning too fast." The AI's hologram flickered as it processed combat data. "There is one system we haven't used yet. The precursors called it the Void Matrix. It creates a temporary hole in space." Amy's eyes widened as she accessed the engineering data. "The power requirements are enormous. We'd have to shut down everything except life support." "How long would we be vulnerable?" Daniel asked. 45 seconds to power up. 10 seconds to fire," Guardian replied. "If we miss, we won't have enough energy to try again." A massive energy beam from the combined swarm ship struck the Phantom's shields. The whole ship shuddered. "Shields at 30%. Amy called out. "We can't take another hit like that." Daniel made his decision. "Susan, plot us a course directly at that thing." "Peter, hit them with everything we have left. Make them think we're desperate." The Phantom surged forward, its remaining weapons blazing. The swarm ship responded exactly as Daniel hoped, moving to meet their charge head-on. "Void Matrix powering up," Amy reported. "All other systems going dark. We'll be blind and defenseless for almost a minute." The bridge lights dimmed as power was diverted to the new weapon. Through their neural links, the crew could feel the ship's energy gathering like a storm about to break. 20 seconds, Guardian announced. "The swarm ship is still on course to intercept." Daniel watched through the viewport as the massive enemy vessel grew larger. Its weapons were charging, ready to deliver a killing blow. 10 seconds. The swarm ship fired. Its beam of energy reached out like a giant hand ready to crush them. "Now," Daniel commanded. The void matrix activated. A sphere of absolute darkness appeared between the ships, swallowing the swarm's attack completely. The sphere expanded, its edges touching the enemy vessel. What happened next defied description. The swarm ship seemed to fold in on itself, pulled apart by forces beyond normal space. In seconds, the massive construct that had been their greatest threat simply ceased to exist. "Void matrix offline," Amy reported. "Power returning to normal systems." The remaining swarm ships retreated, jumping to faster than light speed as quickly as they appeared. In moments, the space around Beta Centauri was clear except for the Defense Force ships and the last few evacuation transports. "Did we win?" John asked from his security station. Guardian's hologram grew brighter. "No. The swarm will return, stronger than before, but you have given them something new to fear." The precursors would be proud. Daniel looked at his tired crew. They had survived their first real battle, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. The swarm would be back, and next time they would be ready for the Void Matrix. "Send word to Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell them everything. It's time the rest of humanity knew what we're up against." 2 days after the Battle of Beta Centauri, the Phantom docked at Earth's main orbital station. The crew had spent the journey home recovering and studying the data from their encounter with the swarm. None of them had slept much. Admiral Catherine Mills waited for them in the station's main conference room. The wall screens showed images from the battle, including the moment when the Void Matrix had destroyed a combined swarm ship. "You've given us hope, Commander Wright," she said as the crew took their seats. "But you've also brought us terrifying news." Daniel nodded. Through his neural link, he could still feel the Phantom systems, even at this distance. "The swarm is unlike anything we faced before. They learn, they adapt, and they don't stop." Laura activated a holographic display in the center of the table. "I've been analyzing the precursor archives. The swarm destroyed thousands of civilizations before the precursors fought them. Each defeat made them stronger. Then why did the precursors think we could succeed where they failed?" Admiral Mills asked. Guardian's hologram appeared next to the table. "Because you were chosen. The precursors spent their final years studying countless species. They found something unique in humans, an ability to adapt and think in ways that even the swarm cannot predict." Amy brought up her engineering data. "The Phantom's systems prove it. The neural interface works better with us than it did with the precursors. It's like the ship was designed for human minds." "It was," Guardian confirmed. "The precursors modified their technology to match human neural patterns. They saw your potential long before you developed space travel." Peter's tactical display showed the locations of known swarm activity. "They're regrouping faster than we expected. The Void Matrix surprised them, but they'll be ready for it next time." Susan pointed to a blinking dot at the edge of the display. "We've detected unusual energy readings near Pluto. They matched precursor signatures." "Another ship?" Admiral Mills asked hopefully. "No," Guardian replied. "Something far more significant. The Phantom was never meant to fight alone. It was designed to lead a fleet." The hologram expanded, showing a massive structure hidden beneath Pluto's surface. "This facility contains everything needed to build more ships like the Phantom. But it requires human neural patterns to activate." Daniel stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung below them, beautiful and vulnerable. "How long to get the facility running?" "With the right crew, 3 months," Guardian answered. "But we must hurry. The swarm will not give us much time." Admiral Mills looked at each crew member in turn. "You've all seen what we're up against. I won't order anyone to continue this fight. The neural interface is dangerous, and we barely understand this technology." "We'll do it," Daniel said without hesitation. The rest of the crew nodded in agreement. "The precursors chose humanity for a reason. We won't let them down." "Very well," the Admiral said. "I'll give you whatever resources you need. This becomes our top priority." As the meeting ended, Daniel looked back at the image of the Pluto facility. The Phantom had been just the beginning. Now they had to prepare humanity for the greatest war it had ever faced. Guardian's hologram flickered. "Commander, there's something else in the archives. Something the precursors left specifically for a moment like this." The crew gathered around as Guardian revealed one final secret. The war for humanity's survival was about to enter a new phase, and the Phantom would lead the way.